Hello everyone, welcome to Learning Gym. Just a short note to say that I teach maths in a systematic way so that foundation is built from the ground up. I think this is very important to ensure that there are no gaps in learning, and also because you can only build as high as the foundation is steep. This being the first lesson, you can start from here, but remember to get good at things is to follow the old adage, practice makes perfect. Today, I'm going to start at the very beginning, even though what I'm about to teach might be something your child already know. It is still worth emphasizing to reinforce knowledge and concepts. I'm a big believer of reviewing material as things do get forgotten. So we're going to talk about numbers from 0 to 1 million and more in this particular tutorial. First things first, we're going to start with the basics, and that is numbers and spellings, which are so important in maths. I've listed here the numbers and spellings of all the crucial ones that your child would need to know in order to be able to read and spell any numbers. It would eventually allow your child to count up to 1 million and possibly more. Make sure that your child has a very good understanding of numbers 1 to 20. What I mean by this is that your child must know what numbers mean, how to count up to 20 and count back down, as well as be able to spell them. Also, highlight to your child the repetition of numbers 6 to 9 in numbers 16 through 19, and that save for 11 and 12, the rest of the numbers which start with 1 end with the word teen, prefixed by whatever the number is. Finally, introduce the concept of the number of digits, one-digit numbers and two-digit numbers. The next thing to note is that when you're forming a number with a teen at the back, the prefix really is the number that it is, which means the second digit. So, for example, if it's 4, you just say 4 first as a prefix, followed by teen. And the same with 6, 16, 7, 17, 8, 18, 9, 19. The only ones that are different would be 11, 12, 13, and 15. So those are the ones that you have to remember that is different. The next thing your child needs to know is how all the tens are referred to. This is quite simple. All you have to do is add a T at the end of it, spelled TY and also pronounced T. Apart from a few of the numbers like 10, 20, 30, and 50, the rest of it, all you have to do is just say the first number as it is. For example, 4, 40, 6, 60, 7, 70, 8, 80, 9, 90. One important thing to note here in terms of spelling is that this is the only place where 40 is spelled without the U. Most students get confused as to when to put a U for all numbers with 4 in it. Make sure you emphasize that 40 is the only number which is spelled without a U. We then move on to the hundreds. These are relatively easy now that your child knows numbers 1 through 9. All your child has to do is to add the word 100 after saying the first digit, but only if the other two digits are 0. So for example, the first number here is 1, so that would be 100. 2, 200, 3, 300, 4, 400, and so on. The next thing is how to identify thousands. This is simple enough initially, but first, it is good practice to get children to put a comma after the last 3 digits. Now it makes it easier to read. Just like hundreds, we add the word thousand just before the last 3 digits. Take note that I said to add the word thousand before reading the last 3 digits, not at the end. This is to prevent confusion by children later on. So in this case, I'm sure the children will be able to read it quite easily as 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and so on. I have to emphasize that if you add a comma after every 3 digits from the ones positions or the unit position, it makes it much easier to tell if a number is 1,000, million, or billion. So do have this in mind and make sure it's a good practice by the children. Here is a 7-digit number, and if you do as I recommended to place a comma after every 3 digits, you could easily see that it's going to be a million position just after this 6th digit. So to read this number is merely 1 million. And now we can practice the millions. So if you have 7 digits and you put a comma after every 3 digits from the ones or unit position, you could easily see that this is a million position. You can get your child to familiarize himself or herself with it. So this would be 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, 6 million, 7 million, 8 million, and 9 million. So now we have the billions. And that comes if there are 10 digits in a number. And similarly, after every 3 digits, you place a comma so that you can easily see that there are 10 digits and that you should add a billion after the first number that you read. So in this case, it would be 1 billion because the rest are all zeros. Now we move on to hyphens and to introduce to your child how to read numbers from 21 through to 99. This builds on knowledge of the tens that they have already learned. In all cases, the numbers that come first is read first, but in the form of a tens place, even if it's in a 10,000 place. For example, the first number on here is read as 20, followed by the name of the last digit. In this case is 1, so it is read as 21. The thing to emphasize to your child is that for 2-digit numbers, a hyphen is always added to it. There are no other place to add a hyphen except when you read a number as a 2-digit number to be read as if it is in a tens and a ones position. Once again, there is no other place in a number where you would place a hyphen except when reading numbers resulting in joining 2 digits such that it is read as if it is a tens and a ones place. For example, 21, 38, 45, 57, 69, 72, 83, and 94. Now comes the interesting bits, the basics on how to read numbers. The basic of how to read numbers up to hundreds, that is very important. If your child can do that, they would be able to read just about any number. Let's take the number 569. Firstly, see if you can break the number into 3 digits. In this case, you can. So you know that the number you will have 100 in it. Secondly, read the first number off. In this case, it is simply 5. Then add 100 to it. Thus, it is read as 500. Next, if the second number is not a 0, we simply read it as if it is a 2-digit number by adding a t to it, so it will be 60. Finally, since there is a third digit which is not a 0, we simply read that number as whatever it is. In this case, it is a 9. But because this is reading just 2 sets of numbers, much like a list, we add the article "and" before the last item. So this number will then be 569. But what happens when there is a 0 in the middle? 509. We do not mention 0 at all, and we just read the first and the third digit. And because there are just 2 items in the list, so to speak, we add the word "n" after the first one. In this case, then, it is 500. Now, because there's a 0, we do not say 0, but just say the next number, which is 9. Don't forget to add an n between it, so it will be 509. Here's another number that might be an exception, 519. We know from previously that if there are 3 digits, it will be 100. So you simply say 500. What do we do with the 1 and a 9? We read it as if it's a tens and ones position. And this would be an teen, T-E-E-N. So in this case, it will be read as 19. And so finally, this number will be read as 519. Before moving on, it's wise to actually really familiarize reading numbers in the hundreds positions, all kinds of combinations. But before moving on to the next larger number, let's look at a few numbers here. This would be 200, 1000, 4000. Now this is something new, which should be read as 10,000. Always group numbers in terms of hundreds and read it as hundreds for each comma. For example, this would be read as 100,000. And this, is in the million position, and it's 1 million. For this one, this is 2 digits after a comma, so it's read as a tens position. And in this case, it is 10. And these are million, so it's 10 million. And this, once again, is read as a hundredths number, so you read it as 100 million. Now this is in a billion position, because there are 10 digits, so you read it as 1 billion. And this is simply 0. Now for the test, let's read some very large and complicated numbers. The first thing to do is to place comma after every 3 digits from the ones position. There you have first comma and second comma. The next thing to do is to check the number of digits it has. In this case, it's 7, so you know that it's in the million range. Thirdly, you read it from the first number that you can see, and this is just a unit, so you read it as 2 million. And this set of 3, you read it as 100 first, even though it's in 1,000, so you add the 1,000 last after you read the others. It will be 340,000. And finally, we read this set of hundreds, which is 512. So this number then is 2,340,512. Finally, we have one last example, 991,001,000. The first thing to do is to put your commas after every 3 digits from the unit position. And here you have 2 sets of commas. Now, the first set of 3 would be in the hundreds position. The second set of 3 would be in the thousand position. And the third set of 3 would be in the million position. We start reading from the right. So this would be 991 million. In this case, it's simply 1, so 1,000. And there's nothing here, so you don't have to say it. So finally, this number is then read as 991 million and 1,000. And there you have it, how to read numbers, large complicated numbers as well as how to spell them. Thanks for watching. Please like my page and subscribe. Till next time, bye.